Well, hello YouTubers. Mike here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to Wyoming, an old mine in Wyoming and an ore bin from that old mine. So here's the ore bin that we found at this abandoned mine. I'm not going to show you too much of this because it might give away the location, okay? But this ore bin is still full of ore. This is the last stuff they mined out of this mine before they shut the mine down. They never got around to processing it through their plant, which is right behind me. And we came out here last year, my wife and I, and we took a little sample out of this, took it home, crushed it up, panned it out, and found gold in it. There was also some copper and some brass in it from the detonating wire and the blasting caps. So they blasted this out of the ground, and this is gold ore. Apparently it wasn't enough to pay to keep the mine open, but there's some good gold in this stuff. And I'm back here today, out here in the mountains, back up at this mine, and I have filled up 3 bags out of this ore bin, and I'm working on filling up a 4th. And there's a lot more ore in this bin than I remembered. I don't think I'm going to be able to get, all that much of it today. But that's okay. 4 or 5 bags. Each bag's going to weigh 50, 60 pounds. That's a lot of ore. I'll take that back home and process it, and we'll see how much gold we get out of it. And my wife and I seem to be the only people on Earth who know about this and know where it is. So we'll be back out here in Wyoming 2 more times this year. So got more opportunities to empty this bin out. It may be a long-term project. There's a lot more ore in this bin than I thought there was. There could be a ton or 2 in here. And it's been here so long there's grass growing out of it. But it's good ore, and I'm going to get as much of it as I can today, probably at least 5 bags, and then we'll see what we got when we get it back home. Whew. Okay, there's bag number 5 filled, and I think I'm going to call it at that. I mean, cleaning this ore bin out is obviously going to be a long-term project for the 2 of us, and I think we've got plenty of time. It's just been sitting here for 40, 50 years. Nobody else seems to know about it, so 5 bags, which weigh maybe 60 pounds each, I think will keep me busy for quite a while. And some of this stuff may end up in the pay dirt bags I've been threatening to make and put up for sale. So we'll see about that. Stay tuned for further developments in that department. All right, I got the 5 sacks of stuff back to Florida. And I've been experimenting with it, trying to figure out what we've got here and the best way to process it, okay? So as you can see, I've been into 1 bag pretty heavy here. So I'll show you what we're dealing with here. First I'm going to put some gloves on, because this mine, I'll tell you a little bit about this mine as we're going along. Started out as a gold mine, ended up as an arsenic mine, okay? Once the rich gold ran out on it, or at least depleted to the point where they were just getting a little bit of gold out of it, they found that there was a lot of arsenopyrite in there and a lot of arsenic. And towards the end of the mine's life, the arsenic was actually paying pretty good compared to the gold. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I'm going to put some gloves on before I handle this stuff, just to try and keep the arsenic off my hands. So let me do that, and then we'll get to work on this. So basically what I want to do here is just show you what I've already done off camera. I've taken a little sample of this and I've panned it down to see how much gold there is in it. But there's a lot of big chunks in here, and all I did was just screen out some fines from it and pan out the fines. That's it. Didn't do anything else. So I've got a couple of screens here. One's a 1/4 inch screen, one's a 1/10 of the inch screen. I'm just going to stack them. And I'm going to dump some of this stuff in there, and we will just collect the fines that come off of this stuff. And I will put the oversized stuff back in another bag for later processing, because we're going to have to process it a little differently. We're going to have to crush it, get the gold out of it. But the fines are basically already crushed, so yeah, this is the stuff we're going to have to crush. Some of it's pretty soft and breaks up, others rock hard. So we'll run this stuff through my Smash-O-Matic rock crusher in the future and deal with it. Because we're only going to get a tiny fraction of the gold out of this stuff. There's still a lot of gold locked up in these oversized things. See? And we got some more oversized here. Again, some of this crushes up pretty easy in my hand and some of it doesn't. So we'll just feed all this stuff through the rock crusher eventually. There we go. Oh, there's some material we can just pan out right away and see how much gold we've got in it. Alright, so let me clear everything off here and get set up for panning, and I'll show you what we find in this. As we go, I'll talk about a little bit more about this mine, where I got this stuff from, and about how I want to process this material in the future. Because panning is great for sampling, but it's not really a production method. So we're going to have to come up with a different method to get the bulk of the gold out of this stuff. Otherwise, I'll be at this for the rest of my life, just panning it out. So we don't want that. I got other things to do. Okay, let me clean this out and we'll be back when we're ready to pan. Okay, I think I've got everything I need here. I got my loop, so we can look for fine gold. I got my jet dry, which this water is kind of dirty because I've used it already for some sampling. But the jet dry will help break the surface tension on the water and keep fine gold from floating. Okay, I got my snuffer bottle to collect the fine gold. I got my favorite small pan for sampling right here. So we're going to put about half of this material in this pan. And I took the oversized stuff and I put it in another sack to save it for later. I mean, technically this stuff's probably a little oversized too. Probably everything should be run through the Smash-O-Matic ore crusher. Try and liberate as much gold from this stuff as possible. But we'll just do a little sample here. Pan it out. See what we got. Get it all good and wet. And get any clods broken up. Clearly there's a lot of iron in this stuff from the reddish brown color of it, which is not surprising. There's a lot of arsenopyrite here, which is iron, sulfur, and arsenic. And as it breaks down, you know, it's going to release a lot of iron oxide. So that's what the red color's from. I said that this mine produces a lot of arsenic. It started out as a gold mine. Incredibly rich veins of gold were found at the surface, and they followed them down into the mountain. I actually found underground maps of this mine in some archives, and there's a lot of tunnels and stopes. They mined out a huge area of the mountain under there, which is not surprising given the huge size of the waste rock piles outside. I mean, they've completely blocked an entire valley with the waste rock and backed up a stream. The mine itself has been closed off by the Forest Service. There's a big iron door covering it, so, and you know, you can't get in. They've left some ways for bats to get in and out, which is pretty normal because bats had colonized the thing. But yeah, this mine shut down about, I don't know, 40 to 50 years ago, somewhere in that time frame. And by then, the good gold had been depleted, and they weren't getting that much gold out of the mine anymore. But what they were getting was a lot of arsenic ore. Okay, it was very rich in arsenic ore. I've seen the assays on the ore they were sending out. Very, very rich in arsenic. Not that much gold toward the end, but they were still getting gold. And I could tell from their wash plant, they wanted that gold. You know, I got this material out of their ore bin, which contained the last material they mined out of the mountain before they shut the mine down. And their wash plant, which I think maybe broke down and was probably the last straw that killed this mine. Because they had this big ore bin, And that ore bin fed a huge, I'm talking huge, impact mill. It's the biggest one I've seen. And then that impact mill, stuff would have come from that impact mill and gone up a conveyor and into a trommel, and then through the trommel in through sluice boxes, obviously to get the gold. And then I think the output from the sluice boxes went into a settling pond, and the stuff that settled out, which would have been this stuff basically, they sent off to a refiner to get the value of the arsenic out of it. That's the way it looks like it was set up. It looks to me like maybe the impact mill broke down because they disconnected it from the ore bin. The two had obviously been connected together so the ore bin could feed the impact mill directly. And that may have just been the final nail in the coffin of that mine. Repairing the impact mill may have been too expensive. There wasn't enough gold in the ore anymore. Maybe they only shut down temporarily, but they never started up again. So anyway, that's my working theory. I don't know all the details. The info I found on this mine is incomplete. I know a lot of details about some of it and no details about the rest of it. So we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. There's some heavies in here. There's some black sands. There's some sulfides. But there should be some gold based on my previous testing here. So let me see if we can find it. Gently panning back the rest of this stuff in here. And we'll go out and look at it in the light. Sunlight. I've got bright lights here inside in my lab, but still it's not bright enough. I have to go out into the sun and see. Alright, let me take a look at this with my loupe and see if I'm seeing the gold. And maybe so, maybe I can take it out in the sun and see if I can get you a view of it. Oh, there's some gold there. Yep. Yep, there's some pieces of gold. Let me see if I can separate them from the black sands a little better. And then we'll go out in the sun and take a look at it. I think this gold should be big enough to actually show up with the macro function of my phone. Sometimes it doesn't want to show up, but this I think might be big enough. Okay, let me take this out in the sun and see if we can get a look at it. Well, of course, now that I need the sun, it's gone behind a cloud. Let's see what we can see, though. Focus, you. Focus. Focus. All right. Come on. Focus. There we go. That's better. I don't know how well they're showing up, but all the stuff up near that crease, not that one, but this top crease up here, is gold. Okay? I've tapped the pan. There's a big piece right there. You can see the gold color on it. Even I can see that in the viewfinder. Normally, I can't really see it, but all the fine stuff up there, there's a few more gold pieces right there. There's some really fine stuff in there that's not really showing up. There's some more gold right there. In this little crease over here, there's a lot of little pieces of gold caught up in that. And down here in this corner of that crease, there's some gold caught up in there. And there's still some gold caught up in this. This is mostly sulfides down here. There's still some bits of gold caught up in that. With my loupe, I can see them. So, yeah, there's a fair amount of gold in this pan. It's small, but there's a fair amount of it. I mean, considering the small amount of material I just panned, that is a good pan for gold, okay? Yeah, considering the small amount of material, that's a fair amount of gold. Let me suck it up with my snuffer bottle and we'll pan out the rest of this stuff and see what we've got. Getting it?
I'm just gonna suck up all that black sand and sulfides too. At some point in the future, I'll just smelt the contents of this snuffer bottle and get the gold out of it. There might be more gold bound up in those sulfides as well, so probably benefit from smelting. So let's do another pan. I did some test panning yesterday. I was well into that bag, as you could see. But remember, we're only doing the fines out of the bag. All those big chunks, and even the small chunks, are still there. They need to be crushed up to liberate the gold caught up in them. So we're just basically doing the crumbs here and getting gold out of the crumbs. So in about 3 weeks to a month, wife and I are going to be back in Wyoming, and make it a point to drive out to that mine again up in the mountains and fill up some more bags. Probably have to ship them home this time because we're flying this time. It's the last time I drove, which was really convenient because I could just throw those heavy bags in the back of the truck and drive them home with me. This time we're flying. We can't spend quite as much time out there. But I'll find a way to get them home, or just cache them in our garage in Wyoming until the next time I drive out and bring them back. That might even be a better idea. And then in the fall, got to go back out there again to winterize the place before the winter. You know, we had a week below 45 below zero out there this last winter. 45 below zero for a week. You'd be amazed at how many trees didn't make it through the winter this year. It was a rough winter, a lot of snow, very cold. But we did a good job of winterizing the place. Didn't have any plumbing issues, so got to do that again before winter sets in again. The farmers are expecting another few bad years like that. They say they come in batches. 4 or 5 in a row. Going to be that cold, they say. Might be an old wives' tale, but you know what? I'm not going to chance it. We're going to winterize the heck out of everything. Anything that could possibly freeze will get winterized. And after 2 more trips out there, should have an awful lot of this ore. So after I finish panning this out, I'll tell you exactly what my plan, my provisional plan is for dealing with this ore, and we'll see how well it works. You know, you never know if a plan works until you've met the enemy. Well, I wouldn't call this stuff my enemy really, but it's going to be a lot of work to get all the gold out of it. So we'll see how well my plan works. Like I said, panning's great for sampling, but this is not a production method. It'll take an awful long time to get a significant amount of gold out of this stuff at this rate. Okay. Start walking this stuff back, exposing the gold again. We'll see how much we got in this pan. I think I did 3 pans yesterday, and one had a really significant amount of gold in it. The other 2 were about like this first pan I showed you, just a little bit of gold. It was kind of spotty in those crumbs. Oh yeah, I already see some gold. Oh yeah, this one might be a pretty good pan. Let me see if I can get the gold corralled a little better so we can get a good look at it, and we'll go out in the sun and take a look. The sun's actually back out. It was kind of cloudy, so maybe we'll get a better look this time around than we did last time. I hope that gold showed up. I mean, I could see the gold color on the viewfinder for a change. A lot of times I can't when I'm showing you this stuff. but this last time I could see it. Yeah, there's some gold in here. Okay, let me get it corralled a little bit and we'll head back out into the sun and take a look at it. Okay, yeah, we got some sunlight this time. Maybe it'll focus better. Maybe. Come on, you. There we go. Can you see that big piece of gold right there? Right in the very center of the screen, right there. There's another piece right there. There's some small ones scattered up here along this crease. There's another one, another couple, 3. Some more. There's a lot of small ones over on this side. So yeah, this pan's got some gold in it. Very nice, very nice. So, all right, let me get this sucked up in the snuffer bottle and we'll talk a little bit about what my plans for this stuff going forward are. All right, yeah, this pan, I could tell it was going to be good because I could see the gold with my unaided eye, you know, but with the loupe, yeah, boy, there's a lot of little pieces of gold in there. I can see the big ones with just my eye, but with the loupe, I can see there's a lot of little tiny ones in there, too. Water in there. A lot of organic material in this stuff. There were weeds growing out of that ore bin. We've got a lot of little roots and bits of grass and stuff in here too. That's okay. I don't care. I don't care what's mixed in with my gold. As long as there's gold here. Okay. So what I'm thinking here is I'm going to have to process this stuff in bulk. So I'm going to have to crush up all this ore into a fine powder and then process it probably through a sluice. So that's my provisional plan. So let's take a look at some of the equipment I've got. Okay, so down here's my 5 bags of ore I brought back on this trip from Wyoming. So this is the bag I've been taking my samples out of, and I've been dumping the oversize into this bag. So I've basically still got 5 bags of ore here. I've just been taking a little bit of the crumbs out of one bag to do some sampling. So we've got a lot of ore left here, and it needs to be crushed up. Well, fortunately, a while back, I built my own ore crusher, which I call the Smash-O-Matic. In fact, I had a contest amongst my viewers to come up with a name, Smash-O-Matic 1. So basically it's an impact mill. It's sort of a flail mill. There's some chains with some steel weights on the end of them in here that spin around insanely fast inside here. I can dump the ore down this chute, and I connect this spout here. I connect this up to a vacuum cleaner, and it will suck the dust out. Rocks go in, dust comes out. That's the way this works. And this will crush the ore down to talcum powder size. I mean, there will be some oversized stuff, but I can screen it and send the oversized back through. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to get some pre-crushing stuff going on though. Some of the a lot of the pieces in here are going to be way too big to fit through the input hopper on the Smash-O-Matic. So I'm going to have to acquire something to crush this down small enough to go into the input hopper. And then once I've got the dust, well, I need to process it. And panning it's just going to take too long. Although it'll keep me out of trouble for a few months, I'm sure. What I will probably do is set up a recirculating sluice. Maybe over by where I've got the panning. You can't really see it from here. On the other side of that pile of gold pans is where I was panning. You can just see the corner of the black tub I was panning in. I might set up a big recirculating sluice box over there. Recirculate the water back and forth, and then just dump the powdered material in at the top and let the sluice box catch the gold. And over time, it will concentrate the gold and the heavy minerals in the matting of the sluice box and behind the riffles. And then I'll have a concentrate, and basically all the gold will be contained in like 1/100th of the amount of material. And then that could be panned, or it could be go through a cleanup sluice to make it an even better concentrate. So there's possibilities. I have a cleanup sluice too. So I need to get this all set up. I need to acquire
A better pre-crusher for this stuff to crush this stuff up small enough that it'll all go through the hopper on the Smash-O-Matic. Then I need to feed it through the Smash-O-Matic and collect all the dust that comes out, probably screen it and send the oversize back to the Smash-O-Matic until I've got nothing but dust. And then get the recirculating sluice all together and working and feed the stuff through the recirculating sluice, and then deal with the concentrates that come out of the sluice, which it should be greatly enriched in gold. Still, there'll be a fair amount to deal with, so there'll be either a lot of panning or running that through a cleanup sluice to further concentrate it before final panning. So I've got to get all that together. So that's all going to be in a future video or videos. I just wanted to give you some idea of what I've got here, what I'm dealing with, and what the future's going to hold. But I think, based on my test panning and my previous tests of this material that I did before I even brought this stuff from Wyoming, I think there's a fair amount of gold in here. It wasn't enough to keep the mine operating, obviously. But you know what? The price of gold has gone through the roof in the last 50 years. So there's enough gold in there, you know, to keep me in chips for a while. I just got to get it out. So that's going to be the subject of future videos. So stay tuned and subscribe to see those future videos. And if you found this video at all interesting, educational, informative, whatever, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. And like I said, subscribe to see those future videos. Check out my second channel, Electric Geek 64. There's interesting stuff there if you're at all interested in electronics or retro computing, and more content is coming out now that I'm back from the West. Coming out fast and furious, so check that out. And I will see you in the next video. It may be a little while before I'm set up to process this stuff. Next video may be e-waste again, I don't know. But eventually, we'll be processing this, and we'll see how much gold there is in it. So, see you then. Thanks for watching this video. Bye.